Imagine, if you will,
Imagine, if you will, an alternate universe where Detroit never went through emergency management. A universe where we invested the bulk of the city budget in our schools, libraries, parks, and public transportation.
Imagine.
A universe where housing is truly affordable and our elected officials pass policies that will benefit
Imagine, if you will,
all Detroiters. Tonight, Detroit People's Platform would like to pull back the curtain and share a different reality about the state of our city.
All right. My fellow Detroiters, it is with humility and honor that I stand before you again this spring. I will be brief and cover what needs to be shared in order for you to more fully benefit from and participate in our city. The Detroit City Charter guides our work when it says the people have a right to expect city government to provide for its residents decent housing, job opportunities, reliable, convenient, and comfortable transportation, recreational facilities and activities, cultural enrichment, including libraries and art and historical museums, clean air and waterways, safe drinking water, and a sanitary, environmentally sound city. The most important thing that we have done has been to change the culture and very meaning of governance in the city of Detroit. Our leaders had the wisdom to see what was coming down the pipe with the previous governor's inhumane style of governance that led to the poisoning of Flint. We made the decision to put people, not systems, first. There are many mistakes that could have been made. By making the decision not to issue a $450 million in bonds for the Mama Lila Cabell Arena, or LCA, and another $36 million in bonds for the Pistons, we changed the way we move money in the city of Detroit. These bonds would have doubled the debt carried by the DDA to $1 billion. Due to this, the DDA has paid off its debt much faster, which has allowed for the authority to be dissolved, having served its purpose. The increase in tax revenue from the dissolution of the DDA, reduced usage of tax incentives, and proper use of ARPA funds has provided the means to repay Black homeowners for the overtaxation that we started in 2010, but we were able to stop in 2013. We've also changed the culture by refusing to give developers a pass and letting them pay nominal and performative fines around employment. We demanded they hire Detroiters and take responsibility for making it work and getting paychecks cashed where Detroiters needed them most. Once again, Detroit Public Schools are top in the nation in academics, sports, marching bands, and vocational training. We know our babies are little geniuses, but it feels good to have the whole world recognize it. The accolades of our students and young people are far too numerous to name, but I will give a few highlights here because, as we know, in any civilized society, we must ask, how are the children doing? Our DPS citywide academic games team and Detroit Youth Choir, chess team, and dance team have all brought home national championships this year, as they have in previous years. What's new this year is our Adopt a Suburbanite program that has had smashing success teaching empathy and historical context for institutionalized racism between students in DPS and the suburban outlying areas. We have also had amazing wins in conflict navigation and law through our collective co-governance work. We actually have experienced the lowest level of crime in any large metropolis in over 50 years in the United States. In the hometown of Aretha and so many others, we are standing strong because of our recognition of homegrown genius and our dedication to a substantial investment in the arts. Detroit is home to the world's only techno museum at Underground Resistance, the birthplace of Motown, and contributions to canons of jazz, funk, house, and other experimental forms that the world has yet to name. I am proud that our work will be featured at the International Space Station in perpetuity for all those intergalactic travelers to hear and feel us. Our Percent for Arts program for Detroiters has been prioritized by our participatory budgeting process so that we can fund art for and by our future generations. A dynamic public transit system is vital. Detroiters are essential riders who for generations have been subjected to economic impacts of racism through our bus routes. The City of Detroit is proud to announce expansion of DDOT routes throughout our neighborhoods and connecting them to fast, frequent, and 24-hour bus rapid transit services across Grand River, Greenfield, Jefferson, Gratiot, Van Dyke, Fort Street, and Woodward. We also celebrate the opening of the Detroit Central Transit Hub, which will be housed at the former Michigan Central train station with a multimodal station connecting Amtrak, DDOT, SMART, intercity bus services such as Greyhound, making Detroit a regional and international transportation hub. The hub will house various transportation offices and departments, including research facilities for no-emission fuel technology, an educational vocational center for public transportation available to students attending school within the city, preparing our next generation of transportation operators, mechanics, and engineers. This is made possible by careful use and proper and transparent use of ARPA funding to invest transit in communities experiencing unreliable service, below 80% on-time service, and create a reduced fare program for individuals and families in need. These critical investments in transportation will be supported by a major investment from our general fund. We are finally achieving our city's mandate of providing safe, affordable, and reliable transportation for all residents. Citywide, we have applied housing solidarity principles and lived into our belief that affordable, accessible, safe, and quality housing is a human right that all Detroiters must have access to. Now, when the city is considering land use and economic development decisions, there are policy protections along with greater investment of city tax dollars and resources in community ownership models as well. We have transitioned 1/3 of city-owned land for potential community land trust and limited equity housing opportunities. These opportunities are dispersed in neighborhoods across the city. Our housing system promotes accountability and co-governance. Therefore, we reformed and reorganized the procedures and oversight power within the Building, Safety, Engineering, and Environmental Department so that the well-being of Detroit citizens comes first. Further, this administration believes in the power of residents' voice, and therefore we recognize the vital role that tenant councils play in maintaining a quality community living space in each of our public housing and subsidized living communities. One of the best things that we have done is fully funded the right to counsel. We have reduced the filing of eviction cases across the city based on a full and competent legal representation available to those at risk, so that win rate for tenants is 90% versus previous wins that favored landlords by 90%. We've reached our goal of $25 million for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund this year and have multiple projects in the pipeline which increased fivefold in the last fiscal year. And don't forget, we're standing on the legacy of many national precedents. Orsell versus Snipes, a national case that struck down racially restrictive covenants for all of America, and the precedent set by Osane Sweet and the National Stand Your Ground understanding. We also brought the renter's right to counsel and the first CBO ordinance in the nation. We have made sure that no Detroiter has gone without housing. Through our reparations efforts, we have won remuneration and made whole every family that was negatively impacted by redlining, the destruction of Black Bottom, and those whose property taxes were overassessed between 2010 and 2013. Other initiatives, like successfully negotiating a settlement for revenue sharing from the state of Michigan for the past 2 decades, we have been able to invest this $2 billion into the people of Detroit and our neighborhood-based projects that have been communally decided upon using a participatory budgeting process. The outcomes are amazing. We have community-owned hubs where solar energy is harvested and distributed throughout the neighborhoods. This gives everyone a discount on their DTE bill. We have established citywide internet for all to bridge the digital divide. 7,000 cell phone charging stations, tool libraries, media and music labs, community kitchens offering free family dinners, makerspaces, and repair cafes have popped up across the city. By using less tax incentives, economic development agencies like the DEGC and Economic Development Corporation, which are governed and influenced by wealthy and private interests, have required less funding. These agencies would have sucked up $20 million in general fund money, but our administration has used that to set up a participatory budgeting process. Participatory budgeting is a way to bring our residents in. As we know, Detroiters like to work together. Over 75% of all residents have participated in this process to work on collective budgeting together. It has brought about a new day in civic engagement where we are not begging folks to come out and vote, but rather people are joyfully stepping up to the plate. Residents are engaging their neighbors with deep listening, empathy, creative problem solving, and feeling the empowerment of seeing the fruits of their labor in every neighborhood in Detroit. So, fellow Detroiters, where do we go from here? These are just a few of the policies that we have promoted and moved into practice that have influenced not just better, but right outcomes for Detroiters. Thank you. Hold up. Real Detroiters are all too well aware this city we've been weaving here is an illusion. We've shared a possibility, a vision, a variant of Detroit that many have been fighting for. We've shared the vision of residents that Detroit People's Platform has stood with on transit justice, affordable housing, and economic development. This is the Detroit we could have if our leaders made better decisions. Over the last 10 years, Detroit has awarded $2 billion in tax incentives to private developers. Every year, $100 million is diverted from the city's general fund and other public institutions like schools and libraries. Over the last 10 years, white residents' median income grew by 50%, while the median income for Black residents grew by only 16%. Black home ownership dropped, while white home ownership rose. While the white population has increased slightly, over 100,000 Black residents have left the city of Detroit. The mayor is claiming that they have spent $1 billion in affordable housing. In 2022, the city began counting over $70 million in demolition spending as part of the housing spending per year. The administration's economic development model gives up property taxes in exchange for income tax, which has failed. While income tax has increased, all other revenue sources have decreased. The gains in income tax has not offset the massive losses in property taxes and all other revenues. That is the harsh reality of Detroit for everyday Detroiters. It's the part of the city that the state of the city doesn't want to highlight, and that it doesn't even want to acknowledge. That every year, the administration prepares a theatrical performance for their leader to roll out on stage. It's an illusion. In some ways, it's more made up than our performance here. There are many ways that the current administration perpetuates this illusion. Billionaires have the resources to double down on that illusion. Their ability to turn a profit also brings their influence and power into play in support of the illusion. Many media outlets in Detroit repeat the administration's narratives without doing their due diligence. The failure to do so quietly but firmly emphasizes and endorses the illusion. Remember, when majority Black Detroit prospers, everyone prospers.
Black Detroiters, visionary change historically is rooted in radical solidarity within our community where we stand together regardless of class and culture. To win the changes we deserve, Detroit People's Platform urges majority Black Detroit and like-minded allies in 2024 to boss up and embrace the vision for Detroit where governance and city government prioritizes the needs of residents. Organize. Recognize that if we organize and will power together, we win what we need in our families and our neighborhoods. Get active, join a coalition, block club, or neighborhood association fighting for truly affordable, accessible, and quality housing, decent bus service, and economic development that improves all neighborhoods and not just a few areas like downtown, midtown, and Corktown. And don't believe the hype. Your vote really does count. Use your vote and elect public officials on the local, state, or federal level who have the same values as you and will fight for what you and your neighbors deserve. Lastly, volunteer. Beginning May 1st, DPP will knock thousands of doors and make thousands of phone calls to Detroiters and talk directly to Detroiters about the vision for a better Detroit and how we can organize to make that vision a reality. We invite you to join us. Let's boss up together, Detroit, and make the change we need.